Hey everyone, welcome back to all of those who are my subscribers and welcome to anyone who's new. My name is Bonnie and this channel is specifically focused on my husband and mine's experience and journey doing IVF and our struggle with infertility for over 5 years and kind of what we're doing now. And in this specific video I'm going to talk about what our next steps are, because we've actually already been through the whole IVF process and we have done a frozen embryo transfer and we are still not pregnant, so it did fail for us. And so I wanted to do a video about what we talked to with our doctor and some different things that we're thinking about for our next transfer. So stay tuned if you want to hear about all that. Okay guys, so first off, I wanted to say that we are doing pretty well. It is definitely a difficult thing and every once in a while it hits me just that, you know, I really thought we would be pregnant right now and we're not. And so it definitely is sometimes, you know, feeling peaceful and thankful, and then sometimes just feeling sad and discouraged and longing for that desire. So, but we are doing, I would say we are doing pretty well overall. We have definitely gone through times of grief and sadness and crying, which is so needed. And just so I just wanted to kind of do a little bit of update for that. So for us moving forward, I did talk to my doctor on the phone. He talked about that, you know, he did have high hopes for us and because everything looked so great. My lining, all my hormones, everything, I responded just like they wanted me to. And you know that they said we did have a good quality embryo. So anyway, it was not PGS tested or PGD tested. We did not do that. So for those of you who are wondering if we did that, we didn't do that. My doctor actually suggested that we not do that because he said for us, for me being under the age of 35, he said that he felt like the potential harm that it could cause embryos would outweigh the benefit that we would get. So that was his point of view when we started IVF. And also we were not going to end up with many embryos anyway, so I guess just kind of giving all of them a chance, and not saying that, I don't know, those that have done PGS testing or PGD, like, yeah, those are very likely not to have a chance. And you know, after we go through all this, if you know all of our embryos don't end up implanting, that probably is definitely something we would look to in the future. You know, if we do need to do another egg retrieval or all that. So, but anyway, you know, he did still say that the embryo, it looked like a good quality embryo. But anyway, he mentioned that for us, that maybe my quality could be an issue because I have slightly elevated FSH. It's like about a year ago, I guess is when we had the blood work done. It came back as an 11 and they wanted under 10 ideally. So it's not like super high, but it is slightly elevated. And then I do have the low AMH, which mine was a 0.8 when we tested. So he said that he kind of correlates the FSH with the quality of the embryos and the AMH with the quantity of how many embryos you'll get. Just kind of roughly, it's not like exact science, of course, but he said he tends to correlate that. So he said, since I do have slightly elevated FSH, you know, potentially the quality could not be as good. And so he actually suggested that something of a change for us would be, we have 2 more frozen embryos to transfer both of them. Because sometimes with the lower quality embryos, he said we implanted the highest quality. And I guess because it had reached the blastocyst stage at day 5 and my other 2 didn't reach it until day 6. But they were still just the same grade as that day 5 blast. But anyway, he suggests that maybe transferring both, and that he gave percentages of if we did another transfer and transferred 1, then we would probably have like a 40% chance of it working. And then if we did 2, we would have a 60% chance of it working. So anyway, that was kind of a lot to think about because I never really thought we would do that. And I know that at the beginning he was kind of pretty adamant about only doing 1. And so I was comfortable with that because I just didn't want to put my body or the babies at risk by having multiples of, and I know some people, you know, have great success and have twins and it works out wonderfully and beautifully. But I guess for me, I was just a little bit hesitant to do that. So we're not really sure exactly if we're going to do that or not yet. But another thing is I kind of asked him, I was like, was there any other like testing or anything like that that we could do that would be helpful for us? And that's when he mentioned the ERA test, so the endometrial receptivity analysis, or array. I don't know, I've seen it kind of written in different ways. But anyway, he suggested that we could try that. And, you know, he said that he doesn't often suggest that test because he said pretty much most of the time it comes back normal. But he said if we did want to kind of, you know, try everything kind of, that he would suggest us trying that. So, as an update, we are doing that. We have decided to move forward with that. So I am currently taking birth control right now to prepare me for, because basically with the ERA test, you take all the medications and you do everything you would as if you were going to do a frozen embryo transfer. But instead of the day that you would have done the transfer, they do an endometrial biopsy to test the endometrial lining to see if it's receptive on that day. And from what I kind of roughly understand is like it can tell you if you need to be on progesterone a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, just to make sure, because that window of receptivity is really narrow. So if it's hitting on the wrong timing, then it just won't implant. And which he said, you know, it's a very low percentage is that it's the endometrium that's the problem. It's a lot of times the embryo. But, you know, again, he said that, you know, it could be something we did. And really, honestly, like time-wise for us, we are going on a big trip this summer in June to go to Spain and Portugal with Casey's parents. And we're very thankful and grateful to have this opportunity to go on this trip. And, but I definitely didn't want to, if I started another frozen embryo transfer right away, for one thing, I felt like I wasn't emotionally and mentally ready to do that. So I think I would not have done that anyway, even if we didn't have this trip. But if I had, then and if it had worked, I would have had to take the progesterone and the estrogen and all that stuff with me on this trip. And I just didn't want to deal with that because I just thought that would just be too complicated. And I want to risk, you know, messing things up or, you know, taking needles on an airplane and just all that stuff. So anyway, but we did have time to do this because, you know, basically once they do the biopsy, I'm guessing you just stop taking all those medicines since you're not transferring an embryo. So anyway, so that's what we are doing. And they said it would be around probably May 8th time-wise that we would do the biopsy. And then it takes like several weeks, I think, to get the results back. But anyway, so then once we get back from our trip in Spain, in Portugal, that'll be at the end of June. And so we would then, and you know, I've kind of roughly estimated when I think the cycle might happen, but it could be crazy, especially with me doing birth control and then inducing it, I don't know, and then I'll get a period and then we'll start. Anyway, it just kind of messes up the cycle. So, but from my rough estimate, we hopefully would be able to do another transfer at the beginning of August. And also, I asked my nurse, actually, I forgot to ask the doctor about this because I didn't think about it, but about doing an endometrial scratch. And she, you know, both of the nurses I talked to, actually talked to 2 of them, said that they do think that would be a good option and they do see good results from that. So we definitely are you know, thinking about, I definitely want the confirmation from my doctor, but of doing that. And my clinic does it 2 weeks before the transfer. And it seems like other things I've seen about it, people typically do it the cycle before they actually start the medications if they're doing a medication frozen embryo cycle. But I don't know, my doctor said they do it 2 weeks before, so, and that they always do that. So anyway, but supposedly that can kind of help with implantation potentially. So we are thinking about doing that as well. And we're still not have decided if we're gonna do 1 or 2. And it might actually, you know, if the ERA test does come back that I do need that time shifted, then I feel like I might lean more towards just doing 1. But if it comes back perfectly normal and that the timing was just right, then I might lean more towards doing 2 potentially. So anyway, so yeah, there's just, and thankfully we have a little while before we have to decide that. But yeah, I just wanted to update you guys on where we were in that and let you know what we're thinking of doing. And please let me know if there's anything that you feel like I need to ask my doctor about or anything like that. I know that really the medication and everything we took, there's no need to change any of that because, like I said, everything came back just like they wanted it. So the amount of estrogen I was taking, the amount of progesterone, and all this stuff was just, well, I guess I take that back. The progesterone they did not test because I actually got, you know, the test for the estrogen, the test for the endometrial lining and all that stuff right before I started taking progesterone. So, so yeah, I guess they don't typically test the progesterone. Maybe, I think I've heard sometimes they will, you know, if you are pregnant and you come in for that blood work to see if you're pregnant, they'll also test the progesterone just to make sure that you're where you need to be and you don't need to higher it or lower it. But I wasn't pregnant, so they didn't even mention, you know, because they're like, just stop the medicine. So anyway, so I don't know, maybe that's when they test it. But as far as my lining and my estrogen levels and all that stuff, everything was just great. So anyway, but yeah, just let me know if you guys have any thoughts or ideas on, you know, if you've had a failed transfer and something that was really helpful for you. I know everyone's different, so what helped you or helped someone else may not help me, but it's always good to kind of think about and maybe talk to my doctor about. So anyway, thank you guys so much for your support, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye!